All right. So our new chapter, chapter 7, deals with absolute value equations for the start, lesson 42. I'm going to take a look here and get you to your assignment. So if I can, there we go. Uh, Steps for solving absolute value equations. First thing we want to do, we want to get the absolute value on one side of the equation by itself. Get everything outside of the absolute value moved over to the other side of the equation, so the absolute value is by itself. Then we're going to take the expression in the absolute value equal to the value on the other side and equal to its opposite, and then solve both equations. It's going to look something like this. Absolute value equals x. Absolute value of x equals 6. Here, the absolute value is by itself. So all we have to do is set that absolute value equal to 6 and the opposite of 6. So we get x equals 6 or x equals the opposite of 6. 4x equals 16. Again, the absolute value is by itself. So we get 4x equals 16 and 4x equals negative 16. Solving for x by dividing by 4, x equals 4, x equals negative 4. The absolute value of x plus 3 equals 6. So again, the absolute value is by itself. So we're going to get x plus 3 equals 6 or x plus 3 equals negative 6. Subtract 3 from both sides. X equals 3. X equals negative 9. The absolute value of x equals negative 6. Well, one thing that we know, when we take the absolute value, our answer is never negative. So if we have an absolute value equal something negative, this is automatically a no solution. But you need to get that absolute value by itself first before you can call it a no solution. Letter E, absolute value of x plus 3 equals 6. Get the absolute value by itself, which means we subtract 3. So the absolute value of x equals 3, which means x equals 3 or x equals negative 3. F, the opposite of the absolute value of x equals negative 8. First thing we have to do to get the absolute value by itself, get rid of that negative outside of the absolute value. So the absolute value of x equals 8. Now we can have x equals 8 or x equals negative 8. All right, some that are a little more complex. Just going to take a minute to reformat here. Maybe. So again, the process is still the same. We want to get the absolute value by itself. For letter A, that's done. So we take the absolute value equals the value that the equation is equal to, in this case, 0, and its opposite. But for 0, 0 is its own opposite. So this one is just 2x minus 4 equals 0. Solve for x. Add 4 to both sides. Divide by 2. X equals 2. That is our only solution. 3x plus 2 equals 7. Sorry, the absolute value of 3x plus 2 equals 7. So 3x plus 2 equals 7. 3x plus 2 equals negative 7. And now solve. One of the great things about absolute value equations, the steps to solve for x are always going to be exactly the same for each solution. Subtract 2 from both sides. Then divide by 3. X equals 5/3, and I would leave it as 5/3. No need to make it into a mixed number or a decimal. For the second equation, 3x plus 2 equals negative 7. Subtract 2, just like we did on the first equation. That would be negative 9. Divide by 3. X equals negative 3. There are my two solutions. 3 times the absolute value of 4x minus 1 minus 5 equals 10. Again, get the absolute value by itself first, add 5 to both sides. Divide both sides by that 3 that's out front of the absolute value symbol. So we get the absolute value of 4x minus 1 equals 5. Now write that as two separate equations. 4x minus 1 equals 5, or 4x minus 1 equals negative 5, and solve. On the first equation, I add 1 to both sides. 4x equals 6. Divide by 4. X equals 3 halves. The second equation, add 1 to both sides. 4x equals negative 4. Divide by 4. X equals negative 1. There are my two solutions. Letter D, 1/4 times the absolute value of 1/2 x plus 3 minus 2 equals negative 1. Here, the equation equals negative 1. However, the absolute value isn't by itself, so you cannot just say no solution. We need to get the absolute value isolated first. If it's still equal to a negative, then we have no solution. So we're going to start by adding 2 to both sides. 1/4 absolute value of 1/2 x plus 3 equals 1. To get rid of the 1/4, I would multiply by 4. Absolute value of 1/2 x plus 3 equals 4. Now write my two equations. 1/2 x plus 3 equals 4. 1/2 x plus 3 equals negative 4. Solve each of those equations. Subtract 3 from both sides. 1/2 x equals 1. Multiply by 2. X equals 2. Subtract 3 from both sides. 1/2 x equals -7. Multiply both sides by 2. X equals -14. All right, so for your homework, on page 288, problem set 41A, 1 through 12, do them all. Those are really quick, easy ones, probably not even a need to write down anything. And then 41B, do 1 to 33, the odds. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you back in class.